And then all of a sudden, I just hit this blow point where I'm like failing. I tried to take my life one night, but it was a lot of other things that were also contributing to that. But this was a point where it was like I was in this turmoil and was a catalyst that just kind of hit everything else down, because there were a lot of other things that were contributing to the way I was feeling and why I was feeling so depressed. So I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across this post, and it was a Christian content creator. This girl was talking about what would she tell her teenage self. The one thing that I would tell myself would be to not give up, and I would tell myself that things get better, and because when I was a teenager, I was pretty bad in depression. So I was 15 years old and I tried to take my life. When I moved to this high school, it was the first time I experienced failing a subject. It hit me pretty bad because I wasn't used to it. I was used to like being in the top three, or like, getting awards and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, I just hit this blow point where I'm like failing. I tried to take my life one night, but it was a lot of other things that were also contributing to that. But this was just like I was in this turmoil, and this was a catalyst that just like kind of hit everything else down, because there were a lot of other things that were contributing to the way I was feeling and why I was feeling so depressed, because I couldn't make friends easy, and I didn't have like a lot of friends. I had one friend in a place where I was very isolated and alone, and I was trying to figure out who I was, and I didn't have much people around, that you would say friends, that were there and supportive. I basically never spoke much. I was extremely shy. I couldn't speak to people at all. My teachers were concerned about me in primary school and going into high school, because I remember my one teacher said I was painfully shy, and it was so true. I mean, that's why when I come on these pages and I start to speak, there's so much of growth, and I realize like how much God has moved me. So that's why I would tell myself that don't give up, and it doesn't get worse. It only gets better. You will only grow more. And the one thing that I would say is not to make life changing decisions without getting real godly counsel and people that will motivate and encourage you into a path that God has for you. I will always bring God into it, because I've seen people from counseling sessions and deliverance and talking to people that have made decisions and have families and have already made these big moves in their life, and kind of are in a place of regret. So that's why I would always tell people to try your best, if you are a believer, to stay close to the heart of God, seek Him, and seek His will for your life. Whoever is also in that place, especially with exams and matric and trials, especially now that results are going to come out. I don't know if it has, I'm not sure. There's this kind of deep feeling of like, if I don't do this, I'm a failure at life, and I don't know what I'm going to do after this with myself. And that's the only thought that I had, was like, if I fail at school, what am I going to do? How am I going to survive? How am I going to make it in life? And I just wrote notes to everybody, like letters, and just said goodbye. And I just took a bunch of pills, and I was, like I said in my video on circular music, I was very much into rock music, so that influenced a lot of my emotions, and going spiraling down this like thing where I was just depressed all the time and stuck in this zone where I'm like, I don't want to be on this earth. So I remember I was listening to Linkin Park, and um I don't want to say the song because it's too depressing, but I was listening to the song and I just took the pills, and um I remember just getting scared in that moment, because everything I felt was like, I'm convinced, like I don't want to live, and I took it, and then a part of me like regretted doing it, and I got scared, and I almost like, I didn't know what to do because I already took the tablets. And so I just sat there and I'm like, okay, if this happens, this happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But uh, honestly, we're like getting to that point of like thinking like I could be dead in a few seconds or minutes, or however long that takes. And it kind of hit me that what am I doing? Like, this is not worth it. And that's why I would say to anybody who's even contemplating suicide, the enemy will tell you that it's better on if you're not on this earth, and nobody cares for you and you invisible anyways, because that's what I had a problem with. Like, I didn't have much people around me, so I felt invisible. I felt like nothing, and that's why God had to deal with me in a very long space of time concerning my heart and rejection, because it was a long process of like getting out of that, and understand that people actually want to talk to me, or they're not out to like get me in terms of like have bad intentions. Like, you start to look at the world in that way, like there's no good out there, there's no one good. So I would just tell whoever is even contemplating it or thinking that you don't know what you're going to do with yourself after you get your results or after school. A lot of teachers have said a lot of bad things to students, to be honest, that haven't done well. And I remember quite a few teachers that told me things that really did impact me with in terms of like how I felt about myself years later. Like, oh, you know they mean well in terms of like trying to get you to do well, but not understanding that some people are actually going through like real things. Don't be pressured to be something that is expected of you. But if you have a passion and you have something that you know that you are talented in and you're skilled in, because that was what was placed in you, pray about it, seek God, and ask him if he has that in mind for you, or to lead you in what he has for you. I can guarantee you that most of the people that you didn't know in school, you're not gonna know later on. And the people and the things that brought you down and the things that were a fear to you are not gonna be something that's gonna affect the rest of your life. You're actually gonna have a way better life after school. Like, I do not miss school at all. And I don't feel bad to say it, because it was a bad time in my life. Okay, maybe people had good years in school and they had good experiences, and that's really good for you. But for me personally, and for people that have gone through what I went through, and were also the kid that was isolated and couldn't talk to people, and were really depressed because of their own situation or circumstances, um I just want to tell you that you're going to be okay, and that there are good people out there. And when you find Jesus, he sends the right people in your life. And I am so grateful to God now, because I didn't have bad influence. I didn't have peer pressure, and relationships in school. I personally think you do not need to be pressured to have a relationship in school. You just need to be on guard and be aware of who you're surrounding yourself with, who your circle is. And if I could tell the generation that God is rising up now, that if you are in school, if you a believer, or you are curious to know about Jesus, I would say it's the best thing you could ever have is to know him at such a young age.